Okay, wait. Before you start looking at the screen weird, let me explain. I know I just did a podcast earlier today, and if you didn't already know that, you know that now. I am one of the biggest, most uninteresting people you will ever meet. And so when I get inspiration to do a podcast, I just do it. I don't think about it, because if I think about it too much, I end up botching it up. And so I just do it when I can, and then I just move on, you know? And so if you've been with me for a while, you know I can go weeks to a month without making another podcast, which will give you time to catch up on all the podcasts you missed. But within that time, you should know that I either got some kind of shit that I'm not getting past that's going on in my life, so I won't be able to do podcasts for that time being. So go back and listen to the old ones, or download them and share them with your friends. I don't care. The title is a reference to a video on YouTube called Bottoming is More Gay on a channel called Girlfriends TV. Yes, I am subscribed to it, and if you have been here for at least a week, you know I have been obsessed with lesbian and gay YouTubers for the last month or so. So, let's get into it, shall we? They say that bottoming is more gay. I don't know about that. You know, for those of you who know me, you know that I'm an anime fan, and if you didn't already know that, you know it now. Which means I love Japanese stuff. Personally, I love the Japanese culture completely. So when I think of, in terms of gay, lesbian, or straight, or human period, there is like the seme, who is I guess would be considered the male in a gay relationship, and the uke, who would be considered the female in the relationship. And then there's a seme-uke who can be interchangeable between the two. Here's my problem with your way of thinking, when you're thinking like that. Because generally, if I really thought about it, my mother was the seme in the relationship between my mother and my stepfather. So there's top, there's bottom, there's dom, there's sub, there's man, there's woman, but I don't like to use that label, man or woman. Who's the girl in the relationship? In a gay relationship, there is no woman. They're both men. So you have to use a different label. And that's what I do. With lesbians, there is no man. There's a dominant partner, and then there's a submissive partner. And then if you're like me, you're a switch, which is basically someone who can be dominant or submissive. For me, it depends on who I'm talking to and how I feel at the time. If I'm feeling submissive, I will act like a submissive. If I'm feeling dominant, I will dominate. Most of my ex-boyfriends, I have dominated. Which is very funny because I'm actually attracted to dominant men. And semi-dominant women, which is weird to me because I don't really like girls that much. Because we fight too much. and way too much drama, like I've said before. And so when it comes to gay relationships, I think in terms of seme and uke, and then I think in terms of seme-uke, which is what I would consider myself. And then there are different types of seme-ukes, and different types of semes, and different types of ukes. And guys, there are different types of things all over the world. Like, there's a such thing as a stud. Was it a femmed or something? A stem. Is it? Yeah, a stem. There's a stem. I don't mess with all those labels. Keep it simple. That's the way I think of it. You know, when sexuality gets too complicated, I say I don't have a sexuality. Because I don't want to overthink it. When being gay or being straight gets too complicated, I don't want to overthink it. I give it maybe 4 or 5 labels and that's it, you know? Because I get too confused. So, and also, if you know me, personally know me, or you've talked to me before, and generally that's not the case with these podcasts because I don't tell my family I'm doing them. You know that I'm into BDSM, which means I generally think of people as a dominant and submissive. Because you can be a woman and be a dominant. You can be a man and be a submissive. You can be a woman and a man and be both dominant and submissive. And again, there are different labels for that as well. But for this podcast, I'm going to keep it simple. In my relationships, I am generally the dominant partner. Do I like it? To a certain extent. You know, I want to be taken care of. I don't want to have to do everything for myself. I want to be treated like the woman that I am. And yes, that is a gender stereotype, but I'm sticking to it. I want to be taken care of. I want a man that can cook, clean, do the laundry. Because that's what my stepfather did in our house. He cooked, he cleaned, and he did the laundry when my mom was too tired to do it herself. Now, my mom worked a job at the time, in the beginning of the relationship. She worked the main paying job, which means she brought home the most money. And my dad, I'm going to call him my father because he's the only dad I know. So my dad worked 3 jobs when they first got together. And he didn't make nearly as much as my mom did. So she was the main breadwinner. And then towards the end of the relationship, towards the time when he died, he got a job as a trucker and he started making more than my mother. Now, Marcus never felt intimidated by my mother, and that's what I want. And I feel like men tend to get intimidated by me, and they put up with too much shit from me, and then I get bored. And I have to move on. When I can dominate you to a certain point, I get bored and I move on. I'm a big person on power plays. And so, when it comes to being dominant and being submissive, I thought gay was being, gay. I didn't realize that you thought one person was a girl and one person was a man. Now, there are different labels, like the pitcher and the catcher. All the labels that I've mentioned in this podcast, there are different labels. Pitchers and catchers, and those are just some of the ones I've heard. Pitcher, catcher, semi, ook, top, bottom, dome, and sub. Those are just some of the stuff that I've heard. Personally, I don't think top and bottom is very accurate because you can top from the bottom. Women have been doing it for centuries because we are considered the catchers in the relationship, yes? Yes. But like I've said before, there are dominant women and they dominate from the bottom, as you would say. And so, there's a submissive top and then there's a dominant top. And then there's dominant bottoms and submissive bottoms. And so you end up giving it that extra label. And over the years, it's just gotten more complicated and different names have come up that I can't think of right now. So I don't think, one position is more gay than another because women can take either or position. And that wouldn't make them any less a woman, but does that mean that they're submissive to their partner? No. You're not any less of a man because you bottom. You're not any less of a woman because you top. You're not any less of a woman because you're masculine. A woman is not how she acts. A woman is what she is. In a gay relationship, there is no man. In a lesbian relationship, there is... sorry. In a gay relationship, there is no woman. In a lesbian relationship, there is no man. And so you can't say who's the girl and who's the guy because there's no guy and there's no girl. Period. One is not more gay than another. Honestly. Come on now. Think about that. Don't be an idiot. Oh, you must be the girl in the relationship. Please. This guy could be 6 I've seen relationships where the guys are like 6'4", and he's really buff, and he's a big jock, and then he has this little twink of a boyfriend who's like 5'3". But when it comes down to what they're doing in bed, the one that's 6'4" is submitting himself to the one that is 5'3". You see what I'm saying? Because he chooses to. There is no right or wrong. There is no girl. There is no man labels for a lesbian or gay relationship. So I feel like just let it go. No man is more gay than another. Being gay is just that. Gay. You can be bisexual. You can be pansexual. But being gay is just that. Nobody is more gay than another. No person is more lesbian than another. It's all just a label. Period. And the fact that people take this and say stuff like, oh, that's so gay. You're such a dyke. What? What? Last time I checked, I didn't like coochie. So, no, that doesn't work too well for you. And I'm going to need you to let it go. You see what I'm saying? Guys, just, I hope this made some kind of sense to you. Because I have a hard time. When I think I'm going to do something and then I think about it and then it gets all complicated in my head and it doesn't work out the way I wanted it to. And that's kind of what happened with this podcast. I wanted to start out by saying the definition of what being homosexual is and being heterosexual. But you already know what it means. Being a homo means being gay or lesbian. Being a heterosexual means being straight and liking the opposite sex. You already know what it means. So I don't have to tell you. And at the end of the day, anything you choose to call yourself is just labels. Because even now, there are different types of gender. My God, it was not that complicated when I was in high school. What the hell is happening to the world? Y'all are coming up with all these different labels and classifications and gender roles and genders, period. And it's freaking me the fuck out. I'm a simple girl who has a complex mind. Or I'm an old-fashioned girl who loves technology. I used to say that all the time. I loved old-fashioned things, but I could not live without my computer. That was what I was telling myself. I was a gothic nerd at one point. I'd always given myself some kind of label until I got older and I just gave up. Because y'all were coming up with too many labels. Too many. And I'm tired. I'm tired of trying to classify myself. Why are we classifying ourselves anyway? Last time I checked, we weren't a different species. Last time I checked, we all classified ourselves as ourselves. We all classified as human beings. What the hell is wrong with you? And even what people call us in the scientific way, Homo sapiens? Really? You're tripping? Honestly? And yet I'm weird. Because I don't know what the fuck a pansexual is. I don't know what the fuck a STEM is. I don't know what the fuck a tranny is. I don't even know what asexual means. I know what a tranny is now. But back in the day, I didn't know. And I don't know what genderqueer is or gender specific. Well, I know what gender specific means. But I don't know what genderqueer is or whatever the hell else, people are talking about. And so when I got on YouTube and I started to wonder about that, when my friend was like talking about how he used to date a guy, so I was like, oh, you're bisexual. And he's like, no, I'm pansexual. And I'm just like, the actual fuck. And then my other friend, she's dating the guy, but when I asked her, are you still a lesbian? She said, yes. And I'm like, how the fuck does that work? How the actual fuck does that work? How can you be lesbian but you're dating a man? What? And the man is pansexual. Pansexuality makes no sense to me. I don't try to make sense of it. If that's how you label yourself, cool. So I go online and I look up what is a pansexual, and I come up with this YouTube channel called Girlfriends TV. And it told me, and pansexuality started to make a little more sense, but not all the way. You know what I'm saying? And so I subscribed to Girlfriends TV because she has what's called themed weeks. And the video that I'm talking about in particular, that the title came from, Bottoming is More Gay, is part of the themed week called Gay Guy Couples Week. Now, the girl that hosts the channel is actually a lesbian, which is okay. I mean, I've been watching lesbians all month, so what's the big deal? I've been subscribed to her for maybe 2 months, I think. I don't know. Not sure. Hopefully I didn't completely botch this up and I can tweet this video to her and not feel really, really awkward. I hope she watches it all the way through. Shout out to Ariel. I love your channel. It's fun and I can come back to it at any time if I'm ever confused about something, because I'm just trying to understand my friends. I know that I like men and I know that I semi-like women. It just depends on the type of woman. I know that's just me, But when it comes to my other friends and they want to give themselves labels and I'm confused, I know I can always go to Ariel's channel. And if you're confused about your sexuality, or you're going through some things that concern your sexuality, or your gender identity, or any kind of confusion you've got going on, I suggest you look up Girlfriends TV. It's really amazing. So yeah, I don't think bottoming makes you more gay. Because if that was true, I would be gay, right? Because that's all I do is bottom. But I top from the bottom. Period. I am considered the submissive partner, but I am actually a dominant submissive. Because I have a dominant side, I can choose whether or not to use it. And that is the same with a man and a man and a woman and a woman. So, that's just my thoughts, Hopefully this made sense, and thank you for listening. Peace out, guys.